Welcome back, fellow gamers. With Commander 2017 fully spoiled, I want to go over what I consider the top 5 commanders to lead your new Commander decks. So without further ado, let's jump in. And I know I just said it was top 5, but actually it's a top 6. Why is it a top 6 and not a top 5? Why is it such a ugly number? Apologies to any 6s out there. It's a 6 because I could not decide on who to cut at position 5, on who to leave out at position 6. So I decided, you know what? I like these 6 creatures so much that I'm going to include it and make it a top 6 list. So without further ado, at number 6 we have Kes Dissident Mage. I love Kes. I just met her, but I can easily say that I really see potential in this deck. So this creature is, during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If a card cast this way would be put in your graveyard this turn, exile it. I see this deck being similar to my Narset All Spells deck, where I'm just playing awesome cards that are in those colors and using them a second time later on. And I just see so many possibilities with this general, or with this commander leading a deck. I can't wait to brew with her. Okay, so at number 5 we have Balad, Wandering Knight. This here is a great way to go Voltron and pretty much attack out of nowhere. This being your commander, people will know what your strategy is. They'll be able to see the board state ahead of time. If you load up your board full of equipment, it is clear that Balad will be coming out in short order. Throw in some equipment that have haste enabling, and then you have Balad that can swing into an opponent and maybe kill him just in one turn. So that is a really strong. There are already a lot of great equipment-based decks, and I think that adding Balad just gives some more variety, playing a different type of equipment-based deck. I'm really excited to try Balad out. At number 4, we have Ramos, Dragon Engine. So this is actually a card that I had pegged at number 1, but I didn't read the whole card through, and it was only when I was finalizing my list that I had a look, and I'll explain why I dropped this from 1 to 4. So it has fly, and it has, whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos, Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colors. Then the ability that I was really excited about, and I still am, remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos, add white, blue, black, red, green to your mana pool. Activate this ability only once each turn. So that last sentence is what I didn't read from my initial viewing, and I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. This card is still crazy, even though it has the once a turn thing, because you can do a lot with 10 mana, and especially if you're playing a 5-color deck, having 2 of each of those mana is critical. I know I run a Progenitus deck where it's just a bunch of legendary creatures thrown in. It's thematic, not that great of a deck, but I have a lot of fun playing it. That will get changed. Progenitus will now go in my 99, and I will put Ramos as the leader of this deck. I can't wait to cast all sorts of great spells with Ramos. And let's face it, it'll be easy to get +1/+1 counters on Ramos. I cannot wait. At number 3, we have Tygum Ujutai Master. So instants, sorceries, and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. This reads to me that I can play whatever I want without having to worry about my stuff getting countered. Now, yeah, still there's artifacts, creatures, enchantments, planeswalkers that can be countered. There aren't that many great white-blue dragons, but there are a few that are actually pretty good that I will be including in this, just kind of as an extra incentive to take advantage of the card fully as it was designed. But really, I'm going to be running something similar to almost an all instants and sorcery deck. I think that's going to go really well with his ability. And not only that, his other ability is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, if he attacked this turn, that spell gains rebound. I love rebound as a mechanic. I'm really excited to play this and just cast a bunch of hard-hitting instances and sorceries, and then just having them take effect again the turn after. Super stoked about this. That's what I'll be doing. I cannot wait. At number 2, we have Edgar Markov. So I really love tribal vampire decks. My first commander deck, I believe, if it wasn't the first, it was the second, was a vampire tribal. I loved it. The fact that Edgar Markov's first ability synergizes so well with many of the vampire lords that already exist is great. So whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 vampire creature token, and that creature token is black. He has first strike, haste, and whenever Edgar Markov attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. So let alone the fact of you getting more vampires out, and a lot of the vampire lords, as I mentioned, will care about having multiple vampires out so that you could either, tap them to take control of another vampire, you tap your vampires to do something, or in the example of Vampire Nocturnus, just you're giving your vampires +2/+1 and flying, so the 1/1s that you're creating are getting even stronger, on top of the fact that Edgar, if he attacks, will give all your vampires an additional boost. I'm just really excited to play vampires in Mardu colors, and this here provides a great new avenue for us to explore vampire decks on. Now, before I get to number 1, I want to talk about, an honorable mention, and that is Anala Ritualist. At first glance, Anala looks like a really powerful commander. However, when I was doing some research for this video, I saw that there aren't actually that many great wizards to be able to take advantage of Anala's first ability. So her first ability is whenever another non-token wizard enters the battlefield under your control, if Anala Ritualist is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you can pay 1 generic. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that wizard. The token gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So here's the thing. Most of the great wizards that are available are legendary creatures. So, cards like Teferi or whatnot. But then we look at, putting those aside, other wizards that might have enter the battlefield abilities that are relevant. So the ones that spring to mind right away are Master of Waves, Puppeteer Click, and of course, Snapcaster Mage. And that's not to mention the Treasure, Trinket, and Trophy Mages, respectively. But looking at a lot of the other wizards, they're not that great, simply because they have a high cost already associated to them, and the effect that they give, it really isn't game-changing to justify them in an inclusion on a deck. So while the ones I did mention beforehand are great inclusions if you're going to build an Anala deck, I was kind of disappointed that there weren't more wizard creatures that we could take advantage of, simply because these creatures that you're going to be creating copies of, those tokens get removed at the end of the turn, so they don't really help if they have static abilities that affect the game state in a long term. So that leaves us kind of in a weird situation where Anala will be able to put some great creatures in her deck, but it won't be as great as everybody, I think, initially thought. This is a card that will get better over time as more and more wizards are released. As soon as you get to wanting to build a deck and fill it with wizards, I think that's where you realize that maybe Anala will need better support going around and not just playing high-costed cards just to say you're playing them to get an additional effect out of the enter the battlefield abilities, or if you need a sacrifice ability, that might be one way you can play with Anala. But again, you're going to be playing with a lot of wizards that are not optimal. So that's why she's not on the list. I'm really excited about her future. I had her pegged at the top of the list, and then fortunately, once looking at the the additional stuff that was available, I was like, man, the other cards I think are a lot better. However, and I haven't even talked about the second ability. So her second ability is tap 5 untapped wizards you control. Target player loses 7 life. There are a lot of other things I would be wanting to do with 5 wizards that I'd be tapping, and the 7 life I don't think is big enough to really justify it. So again, if you've got 20 wizards out there, sure, you can tap, and have a player lose 28 life. That's cool, but I don't know. This card isn't as good as I originally thought it was. So with that said, who is at number 1? Well, at number 1 we have the Dragon. I am so excited about this card. So it reads, as long as the Dragon is in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Has flying and has whenever 1 or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. Then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Holy cow. Dragons are inherently expensive. Having them cost 1 less is great. You can do a lot of extra things if you're casting a few dragons on your turn and you're saving 2 or 3 mana on your turn. That's a great way of casting other spells that might help you further your plan along as the game progresses. But not only that, the other abilities. So whenever one or more dragons you control attack, so drawing all those extra cards and then putting a permanent into play is incredible, especially if you're going to be running dragons and you have a lot of high casting stuff. You're playing 5 colors. There might be some other cards like Omniscience or whatnot that you want to play that you happen to have in your hand. You'll plop it down and the game has changed. I'm really excited about this. But not only that, this list is focused on the fact of this being the commanders, not necessarily cards in the 99. This card also plays really well in a Scion of the Ur-Dragon deck, using the Scion's ability to transform himself into the Ur-Dragon, and then being able to draw an additional bunch of cards, and then putting a card onto the battlefield is great. I just see so many applications. I'm actually at a struggle right now. I don't know who will pilot my commander deck. I'm definitely going to try out the Ur-Dragon, see how it goes. My Scion of the Ur-Dragon deck runs really well as is, so making a change like this, who knows how it will play out. Either way, whether the Ur-Dragon is leading or in the 99, I am 100% certain that I'll be playing with this card in all my dragon-based decks. I cannot wait. Well, that's my list. I would love to know what your top commander is from Commander 2017. Really excited about it. I'm really excited to hear about your selection on who the best commander could be coming out of this release. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, if you'd like to check out some of my videos, you can do that on screen right now. You can also subscribe. It really helps the channel out, but not only that, it lets you know when we upload new content. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day, and until next time, good gaming.